Why do you keep falling for the same kind of person? You know the one, the emotionally unavailable partner who strings you along, the narcissist who makes everything about them, the person who needs you to fix them, save them, complete them, the one who hurts you, drains you, or leaves you feeling empty. And here's what's even more frustrating. You knew it was wrong from the beginning. Some part of you saw the red flags, but you went in anyway. You told yourself, this time will be different. It wasn't. So why does this keep happening? Why do you keep choosing people who aren't good for you? Is it bad luck? Bad timing? Are you just cursed when it comes to love? No. Freud would say, it's your unconscious pulling the strings. And until you understand what's happening beneath the surface, you're going to keep playing out the same patterns over and over again, like a record that's stuck on repeat. Today, we're going deep. We're going to uncover why you attract the wrong people, and more importantly, why you keep choosing them. Let's begin. Here's the brutal truth. Your unconscious doesn't care about your happiness. I know that sounds harsh, but Freud understood something most people don't want to admit. We are not rational creatures making conscious choices about love. We are unconscious creatures repeating patterns we don't even realize we have. Think about it. You meet someone new. There's a spark, an instant attraction. It feels magnetic, effortless, right? You think, finally, this is the one. But 6 months later, you're in the same dynamic you swore you'd never repeat. The same arguments, the same disappointments, the same feeling of being unseen, unheard, unloved. What's happening here? Freud called this repetition compulsion. It's the unconscious drive to recreate unresolved experiences from your past, especially painful ones, in an attempt to master them, to finally get them right. But here's the twist. Your unconscious doesn't want to solve these patterns. It wants to repeat them, because repetition feels like familiarity, and familiarity, even when it's toxic, feels like home. So you're not attracted to the wrong people by accident. You're attracted to them because on some deep unconscious level they remind you of something or someone from your past. And that recognition, that familiarity, gets mistaken for love. Let me say that again. What feels like love is often just recognition. And until you understand this, you're going to keep choosing the same person in different bodies. Let's break down what's actually happening inside your psyche when you fall for the wrong person. Freud divided the mind into 3 parts: the id, the ego, and the superego. Think of them as 3 voices constantly arguing inside your head when it comes to relationships. The id is your primal, impulsive self. It wants pleasure now. It doesn't care about consequences. When you feel that instant electric attraction to someone, that's your id screaming, I want this person. The id is all about desire, hunger, lust. It's the part of you that falls fast and hard. The superego is your internal critic, your moral compass. It's the voice that says, you shouldn't be with this person, they're bad for you, you deserve better. The superego is trying to protect you, but it's also loaded with shame and guilt, often inherited from your parents, your culture, your past experiences. And then there's the ego, the mediator. The ego is supposed to balance the id's desires with the superego's restrictions and reality's demands. It's the part of you that says, okay, I'm attracted to this person, but let me think this through. What are the red flags? Is this actually healthy? But here's the problem. Most of the time, your ego is weak. It gets overpowered by the id's intensity or the superego's shame. And when that happens, you make choices that aren't aligned with your conscious goals. You choose the person who feels exciting but unstable. You ignore the red flags because the attraction is too strong. You settle for crumbs because your superego tells you that's all you deserve. Now let's add another layer, the unconscious. Freud believed that everything we repress, every unresolved wound, every unmet need from childhood, every painful emotion we couldn't handle, gets buried in the unconscious. And it doesn't just disappear, it festers, it grows, and eventually it drives your behavior. So when you keep attracting the wrong people, it's because your unconscious is running the show. It's trying to resolve those old wounds by recreating them in your adult relationships. Let's go deeper. Freud said that our romantic relationships are essentially reruns of our earliest attachments. The way you were loved or not loved as a child becomes the blueprint for how you experience love as an adult. If your parent was emotionally unavailable, you'll likely find yourself drawn to emotionally unavailable partners. Why? Because that unavailability feels familiar. Your unconscious recognizes it, and on some level, you believe that if you can just get this person to love you, you'll finally heal the wound your parent left behind. But it doesn't work that way. Because the emotionally unavailable partner isn't your parent. They can't give you what you didn't get as a child. And yet, you keep trying. You keep pouring yourself into people who can't reciprocate, because your unconscious is stuck in the past, desperately trying to rewrite a story that's already been written. This is what Freud called transference. You transfer feelings, expectations, and dynamics from past relationships, especially with your parents, onto new people. You don't see them for who they are. You see them through the lens of who they remind you of. And here's where it gets even more twisted. You don't just transfer old wounds, you also transfer old roles. If you grew up as the caretaker, the fixer, the one who had to manage everyone else's emotions, you'll unconsciously seek out partners who need fixing. Not because you want to be a caretaker, but because that's the role you know how to play. It's uncomfortable, yes. Exhausting, yes. But it's familiar. And your unconscious craves familiarity more than it craves happiness. Now let's talk about projection. Projection is when you take the parts of yourself that you can't accept, the parts you've repressed, denied, or disowned, and project them onto someone else. Let's say you grew up believing that anger is bad, that you have to be nice and agreeable all the time. So you repress your anger. You push it deep into your unconscious. But it doesn't disappear. Instead, you start attracting angry partners. Partners who express the rage you won't allow yourself to feel. Or maybe you repress your neediness, your vulnerability. You tell yourself, I don't need anyone. I'm independent. I'm strong. So you attract needy partners, people who cling, who demand constant reassurance. And you resent them for it, because they're reflecting the part of you that you've disowned. Freud understood this. What you reject in yourself, you will attract in others. And the people you're most intensely drawn to, they're often mirrors, showing you the parts of yourself you refuse to see. So why does the wrong person feel so magnetic? Because they activate something in you. They wake up your unconscious. They make you feel something. And for many people, feeling something, even if it's painful, is better than feeling nothing at all. The right person, the stable, consistent, emotionally available person, might feel boring by comparison. Why? Because they don't trigger your wounds. They don't recreate your past. And if your unconscious is wired to equate love with struggle, with longing, with chaos, then a healthy relationship can feel flat. It doesn't have the intensity you've come to associate with attraction. This is why so many people say, "I'm just not attracted to nice guys," or "good people don't excite me." It's not that you don't want a healthy relationship. It's that your unconscious has been trained to associate love with pain, with difficulty, with having to earn it. Freud would say, you're not attracted to the person, you're attracted to the wound they reopen. And this is the cruel irony. The people who feel most exciting, most magnetic, most meant to be, are often the ones who hurt you the most. Because they're not loving you, they're activating you. They're pressing on old wounds, lighting up old neural pathways, replaying old dynamics. And your nervous system interprets that activation as passion. But passion isn't love, and intensity isn't intimacy. Let me make a critical distinction here. Attraction is not the same as attachment. Attraction is what you feel in the moment. It's chemistry, magnetism, spark. It's the id saying, "I want this." Attachment is what you formed in the past. It's the unconscious blueprint for how you bond with others, rooted in your earliest relationships. And here's the problem. Most people mistake their attachment wounds for attraction. They think, "I feel so drawn to this person, it must be love." But what they're actually feeling is their attachment system being triggered. If you have an anxious attachment style, if you grew up feeling like love was inconsistent, like you had to work for it, earn it, beg for it, then you'll be drawn to avoidant partners. Why? Because they recreate that dynamic. They pull away and you chase. They withhold and you try harder. It feels like passion, but it's actually just your nervous system replaying an old loop. And if you have an avoidant attachment style, if you learned early on that closeness is dangerous, that vulnerability gets punished, then you'll be drawn to anxious partners. Why? Because they give you a reason to keep your distance. They're too needy, too clingy, too much. And you get to stay safe, stay detached, stay in control. Freud didn't use the language of attachment theory. That came later with John Bowlby. But he understood the core truth. We are compelled to repeat the past until we make the unconscious conscious. So what do you do with all of this? First, you have to get honest, brutally honest. Next time you feel that instant, overwhelming attraction to someone, pause. Don't act on it immediately. Ask yourself, who does this person remind me of? What about them feels familiar? Am I attracted to who they are or to how they make me feel? Does this person activate an old wound in me? Write it down, journal it, because the act of bringing the unconscious into consciousness is the first step toward breaking the pattern. Second, look at your relationship history, not with judgment, but with curiosity. What's the common thread? What role do you keep playing? The rescuer, the victim, the caretaker, the one who's always too much or not enough. Freud said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Stop calling it fate. Start calling it a pattern. And patterns, once you see them, can be changed. Third, start noticing the difference between activation and connection. Does this person make you feel anxious, obsessive, like you have to prove yourself? That's activation. Does this person make you feel calm, seen, safe, like you can just be? That's connection. Your nervous system might not know the difference yet, but your conscious mind can learn to. And finally, get curious about what you're avoiding, because often we keep choosing the wrong people as a way to avoid the right work, the work of healing ourselves, of sitting with our own pain, of becoming whole on our own. Freud believed that we are driven by unconscious forces, yes, But he also believed in the power of insight, of self-awareness, of making the unconscious conscious. That's the path forward. Not perfection, not a perfect partner, but awareness, understanding, the courage to see your patterns and choose differently. So here's my challenge to you. Go back through your relationship history. Think about the person you kept going back to, even though you knew they were wrong for you. The one who hurt you, the one who couldn't show up, the one who kept you in limbo. Now ask yourself, what did they remind me of? Not on the surface, not the surface level traits, but deeper. What dynamic did they recreate? What wound did they reopen? What part of my past was I trying to rewrite through them? Comment below. Share your answer, because naming the pattern is the first step to breaking it. And here's the real twist. Sometimes you attract the wrong people because you're too busy pleasing everyone else. You're so focused on being what others need that you lose track of who you actually are. And when you don't know yourself, you can't choose someone who's truly right for you. That's the subject of our next video. When you stop pleasing everyone, you finally heal. We're going to explore the unconscious roots of people-pleasing, why you sacrifice yourself for others, and how breaking free from that pattern is the key to authentic relationships and authentic life. Don't miss it. Until then, remember, you are not doomed to repeat the past, but you must first see it for what it is. I'll see you in the next one.